Hey, everybody, and that is the wrong camera. There we go. Hey, everybody, let's do Q&A. I'm doing it from home today. We took a little bit of a break this week here at the Dice Tower. We worked hard in previous weeks to have some content that would go up, so there's content been going up all week. I've done several reviews that are going up this week. We have all of our live plays for Messing going up this week. And man, oh man, is there stuff coming your way. We're working hard on it, trying to get things up. I'm excited about what's coming. But right now, I'm excited to be here at home with my family. But I did want to take time to do a Q&A. I'm doing a Q&A today. Today, if you're not in America, today is Black Friday. Black Friday is just a name that they gave to after Thursday, where stores have giant sales and people get up really early in line and stand there for many, many hours when they could have just got a part time job, worked for those hours, and got a discount way better than the discount they'll get. They fight and stuff. Now, I don't know that this is happening this year. I haven't really paid attention to it. I assume with COVID, there's less people standing in line at stores or stores even having sales. A lot of it's moved online, and everyone has Black Friday sales where they mostly sell stuff that they were going to give you a sale for anyway. Go to any of the board game sites that are having sales, and likely they're getting rid of overstocks in different places. So, hey, yay, you can get a game that came out 6 years ago for 30% off. I'm being a bit snarky there. That's probably true. The sound is probably a little quieter. So I'll pump it up. How's that? So there you go. Sounds probably too loud now. Let me know if my sound just blasted you out. I apologize. So anyway, this is a Q&A. So I'm just answering questions and saying hi to people and talking to you all. I know there probably won't be as many people because of the holidays and because, it's Friday morning rather than Monday morning when I normally do these. It's also, whatever. So if you have questions in the, ask them and I might answer them. I don't promise to answer every question. In fact, I promise I won't answer every question. A little too loud now. There we go. How's that? It's really hard to figure out how loud. Historically, I think you said the Dice Tower doesn't make. I'm trying to figure out the best place to put this. I'll put it here at the bottom, and then I'll drop this a bit. There we go. Dice Tower doesn't really make any money from YouTube. As this changed over the years, as Dice Tower has gotten bigger, we make some money from YouTube. It would be erroneous of me to not say we don't, but it is not enough to cover our funds even remotely. The majority of our money still comes from the Kickstarter campaign. I'm hoping that the levels are good now. Instead of saying yes or no, because I'm actually not sure what the question is asked, if you just tell me if I'm too loud or too quiet, that would help. Or just right, or what have you. Anywho, let's see. Is that the only question I've gotten? Well, okay. Well, I'm playing some games. I got some games here to play at the house. You can't see any of them on screen. You can see my kids' games in the back. And then I got games I'm going to be playing at the studio. Lots of cool games have come in. Have you heard anything about the Battlestar Galactica retheme rumor that Final Fantasy is doing with the Arkham Horror series? I know nothing. This is the first I've heard of it. How was Thanksgiving at the Vasel household? It was the smallest Thanksgiving that we've ever done. But, it literally was the fewest people I've had at my house since I've hosted my own Thanksgivings. But it is what it is. I got 5 kids, so we had a good time. Good time. Did Amy come home or stay at school? Amy and Melody stayed at school. Are there any Thanksgiving foods you just don't like? Indeed, there is. Sweet potatoes are garbage. Every year I write up the menu for Thanksgiving, and I always write garbage or something worse on the list, and I refuse to make them. My wife loves them, so she makes them. Our menu this year was less than, because we have fewer people, so we only had only. We fry turkey, baked ham, baked ham, Brussels sprouts, corn with sausage, of course, cranberry sauce, which came out really well, stuffing, mashed potatoes, Caesar salad, bread, and green bean casserole, garbage. And I think there might have been something else that I'm forgetting, but that's pretty much it. Alrighty. In one of your previous Q&As, you said you don't like to be barefoot or the feeling of flip-flops. What's your opinion on finger socks or Vibram shoes? I don't know what those are actually, but I don't think I would like them. I like socks. I'm wearing them right now. Today's socks are striped. I wear socks in the house and shoes everywhere else. So no, I don't really have any desire to do that. What's the best way to find publisher speed dating events? They do them at almost every con. I don't normally go to them, so I don't know much more about them. How was the Stormlight Archives book? We assume you finished it. Yes, book 4. So I'll try to talk about it here without any spoilers, so don't worry. The Rhythm of War. So Brandon Sanderson's writing this as a 10-book series, but it's really, as far as I can tell from what he said, it's 2 5-book series. And just like the second 5 books will take place in the future, you'll see some characters, but I'm good with that. I don't want to wait for 10 books. That means next book is the last book. So there was some really good moments in this book. I really liked it. I like everything Brandon Sanderson read. I read it like a maniac. I'm a fast reader, but I told my wife, even if I read full speed, it was going to take me a while. So I spent a good chunk of the weekend, Monday, and I think I finished it Monday, right? Monday night, I think I finished it. Whew. And then, as soon as I finished it, I went back and reread book 1, just because there was a lot of characters in 4 that I had kind of forgotten about that were mentioned in book 1. And so I want to go back and relook at that. Anyway, there's some really good moments in it. My favorite moment in the book was not the climactic stuff that happened. I mean, it was climactic, but it wasn't the main storyline. It was the B storyline. And there was a moment where it wasn't even an action moment. It was a speech moment. I'm trying to be as spoiler-free as possible. And I never thought that the characters involved, and one of the characters there, well, I can talk about that. That's not a spoiler, I suppose. But Adeline, when I first came across him, wasn't really a big fan of him. He's now my favorite character. And in fact, the main character of the series, which I'm not sure if it's Kaladin or Dalamar, but I think we could argue that they're Kaladin, Dalamar, and Shalander. I can't remember how to pronounce all these names. They're the 3 main characters. But Dalamar, it's really been, I don't know if I like him anymore. I mean, I really liked him at first. And I understood his horrific backstory, which was in the last book. But he's just kind of a jerk these days to pretty much everybody. He's like so stuffy. But anyhow, good book. It did not have as climactic of an ending as books 1, 2, and 3 did, which is fine. It's definitely a setup book. They certainly surprised me with one of the things that happened near the end of this book I wasn't expecting. It's certainly a setup book for book 5. They do the same thing they do in every book where I'm reading through thinking the good guys have no chance. But overall, I was happy with it. As part of the series, great. It left me unsatisfied because I know I have to wait 3 years for the next book. However, I will have the next book, unlike you George R. R. Martin fans who wait decades for your next book. So very much looking to see where this ends. A lot of very satisfying moments in this. And if I'm going to compare this to Robert Jordan, there's lots of answers in each book, which I've always liked. You know, he consistently, yes, there's things that you don't know. But there was a few things I was really interested in when I read book 4, and I went back and read book 1, and they were prepared really well. I was very impressed with how that happened. There was things I missed in book 1 that it never occurred to me would be now in book 4. Anyway, it was good. Winter Spectacular starts in 3 weeks. It's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I can tell you it is going to start on the 14th. It's going to be the 14th through the 17th of December. I saw you're going to have some special guests for Winter Spectacular. I've revealed who they'll be. Mostly people from the Dice Tower. There may be some other special guests, but it will be mostly people from the Dice Tower. When will you put up your Christmas tree? In about 3 hours, actually. Have you thought about using Patreon to raise funds in place of or in addition to Kickstarter? I've never done them. I wouldn't do it to replace Kickstarter. I don't know if you've looked at Patreon. Patreon does not raise very much money. Let's say you saw that Patreon was bringing somebody $2,000 a month. That's pretty impressive. It wouldn't be enough to run a Dice Tower, unfortunately. It also doesn't have the oomph that Kickstarter has. Sure, I could run Patreon throughout the year, and if I ever get pushed, like, oh, we're desperate, we might do it. But I don't like asking for money all the time, and that's what Patreon requires. I like talking about it once a year around the Kickstarter time. You'll notice I'm not even talking about it much right now because the Kickstarter hasn't started yet. So that's kind of why. Is Tales of Evil in your board game review queue? Tales of Evil. No. I've not even seen it. This is from Escape Studios. The Mystery of Demonic Puppeteer. Looks like it is definitely this is definitely a Stranger Things ripoff, theme-wise. Which isn't, terrible. I mean, we see a lot of other stuff that's looks okay, but no, I've not even heard of it till you just mentioned it. Escape Studios. I don't even know who that is. They did a game called Stay Away. I don't know that one either. That came out in 2014. All right. How many books do you read in a month? Do you read multiple books at the same time? I usually don't read multiple books at the same time. It all depends, honestly. I often go back and read. Like I just read. Well, when I said I reread book 1 of the Stormlight Archive, I actually read good chunks of it. I didn't read all of it. I just read the parts that pertained. I know book 1 pretty well, so I jumped around and read a lot of parts of it. But I'm currently, what am I currently reading? I'm reading The First 15 Lives. The First 15 Lives of Harry August. So that's been interesting. It's about a guy who, when he dies, goes back into birth, but he remembers everything from when he was alive. So, and then how does he deal with that? Is Dice Tower Kickstarter planned for January? It is. I've missed most of the newest unlock sets. Which one do you think is the best of the recent sets? Well, if you like Star Wars, get the Star Wars. Otherwise, the most recent one has something to do with 7. I can never remember what they're called. I want to say it's epic, but it might be amazing. It is not heroic, not mystery, not escape, not exotic, not time. Is it timeless? No. Why did they name them all? Yeah, it is Epic. It is Epic. They name them all different, but they're so close, right? How many Cox units do you have dedicated to board games in your home? 2. That's it. You see them right behind me. That's all the board games we have here. I got some board games on a shelf over here. Those are just games I bring home to play with my kids. The Dice Tower Library is kept in a storage unit and has 25 shelves that it is residing on currently. And they're the big Baker type shelves, metal wheel ones, bigger than a calyx. It would take more than 25 calyxes, 4x4s, to hold them all. No, yeah, more than that. What is my least favorite chore? Laundry. Estimated time for reviews for blah 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 blah. And the fact is I wouldn't tell you, even though I know exactly when I'm going to be reviewing one of those. I might mention that occasionally, but I try not to tie myself down into that. People, one of the things that I always find a little frustrating on the Dice Tower is the anger that people show when we don't review something. They'll go, "You haven't reviewed this game yet," and I think, but we reviewed 300 other games. You got to give us some credit, right? It's not like I just refuse to review stuff. There's a ton of games out there. Like right now, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games here at home that I need to review at some point. At work, there's almost another 150 of them. We just can't get to all of them. And I tell it to publishers all the time. In fact, one of the games that you're asking about is right there. And you know what? It's not going to get reviewed for reasons. I'll talk about those in the future. It will probably get in one of my short reviews. But we just can't get to every game. And I try to get to all the big games. And I send some to Z. Obviously, Z's doing a lot of reviews on his own. We got our Brian Drake and Graham and Stella and Ella and Liz and Jason. And we got people doing all sorts of reviews all over the place. And I just can't keep up. Constantly trying to bring on more reviewers to help me with the load, but I just can't get to all of them. But I don't promise times because then people hold you to those times. They get upset. You said it was coming out this week. Yeah, but I need to play it some more, so I delayed it. I keep most of that stuff in my head. I've not yet played Dwellings of Eldervale. I've not yet gotten it. I'm hoping it comes soon. When it does come, we'll certainly review it. What are some things you have on the top of your bucket list? I don't have anything really. I mean, there's things I'd like to do, but if I was on my deathbed right now, I don't think I would sit there and go, "Man, I wish I did this, 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 and this." I'm very happy with my wife and my family and my life. And I mean, there are things I look forward to. There are places I would like to see, countries I like to visit. But if I don't go see them, I got to see a lot of cool things in my life. The only thing I guess that I'm really looking forward to is not that I don't love my kids, but I am looking forward to when they're out of the house and me and my wife get to travel together. But we already get to do that, you know, some now with the kids being older and stuff. So, I last year for our 20th anniversary, me and my wife were able to take a trip to China and to Korea. That was amazing. How often do people get to do that for our 20th anniversary? That was fantastic. My bucket list is done. Is that a beverage fridge in the corner? Well, it was at one time. I mean, yes, to some degree. So we used to work in this room. This used to be the Dice Tower office here. And so I got that so that we would have drinks in there, and I kept it stocked full of drinks. Now there's almost no drinks in there. There's mostly ice cream toppings in there, like chocolate chips and things like that. And that blue bin on top is the stuff that doesn't need to be in the fridge. So like there might be chocolate syrup in that blue bin on top. Don't believe me? Let me show you. See, we got dark chocolate, white chocolate, and mango, and there's more dark chocolate, pumpkin pie, ice cream topping, marshmallows, marshmallow, mint chocolate, and so on and so forth. You probably couldn't hear half that because of the me being so far from the mic. But then in the fridge is like chocolate chips, M&Ms, things like that. Now, I do keep jugs of water in there, and that is what I drink most of the time. And then above my shelf here, I keep all my different toppings. Here's Jelly Belly. I really like the Jelly Belly ones. And I like adding those water flavorings to my drinks, and I have tons of them. This is probably my favorite, actually. Icy Zero. 0 calories. It tastes like blue raspberry ices. Mm-mm-mm. Not only have I not played Howard Tale, I don't even know how to get a copy of it. I was looking on Board Game Geek because, I'm assuming I'll get one eventually, but I was trying to get one earlier. I didn't even see anybody selling it. There's already tons of people rating it. Oh, I see people are now selling it online. Nope, that's a pre-order. See, you got to be careful when you buy stuff. You could easily end up, there's not a single English copy even available to buy. Nothing on eBay. So what do you do? How many games are currently in the Dice Tower library? Well, I don't. This is not going to be an exact number. Because 1732. That's not an exact number because there's always games that are in flux to and fro that haven't been added to it. Sometimes that are being pulled out. I don't know that it will ever break 2,000. It might, and when it does, you might say, Tom, there's definitely libraries in the world that have more than 2,000 games. Some of you who are watching might have more than 2,000 games. But what I would argue is that these 1,732 games are games. They are good games. Well, you might not think they're good. They're quality games. Like I just got a whole bunch of games. I got a couple that I don't even like. But I put them in the library because I think they're worth having in the library. And then we upgrade them, metal coins, upgrade the meeples, add in my own flair to these games. They are the best that you can get of these games. Some of them are being painted. So we're trying to make this like a library where it's just awesome to go to. And you don't sit there. I mean, one of my problems with libraries is I've gone to big libraries. So I don't want to pick on libraries, but I'll pick on the Gen Con library. They're big. They can handle it. So the Gen Con library, the first time I saw it was not at Gen Con. It was being borrowed, I think, for use at Grand Con. I believe that was the Gen Con library. And it's fine. You're not going to say that the library is bad, but you're going through going, who's even playing these games? And you're looking for a game. There's very rarely new games in the library. And if there are, they're immediately checked out. And then you look for older games, and then there's all this old stuff no one wants to play anymore. So my go-to thing is like, where is an older game that I like a lot that people probably haven't played? And that's how you enjoy those libraries. But I wanted a library where there's hot stuff from last year, and that's consistently being curated, consistently being added and subtracted if the game is not that popular. Do you ever get anxious talking in public? How do you avoid feeling nervous when talking in public? Any good advice you could share? I really can't share good advice because I think it's going to be different for everybody. I get nervous when I have to deal with negative things in public, or with something that I'm not used to doing. Like when we did the Dice Tower live show at Gen Con a couple times and I've sung, I'm always nervous before those. I'm always nervous before actually all our Gen Con live shows because they're so big and because they're so scheduled and I have all these things and it needs to go right. I'm less nervous about, let's say, a show at Essen because we're fine. We just get up and do the show. So for me, getting up and speaking isn't a problem. I've run some business meetings in the past that were not pleasant at churches and things. I'm always nervous before those. I was nervous at my wedding when I got married, and I'm sure I'll be nervous at other events in the future. I was nervous at the first wedding I performed. I have not done a funeral. Oh, no, I did do a funeral, and I was nervous there too. So it's just something that I can't and won't give tips on it because it's different for each person. For me, it's really easy to get up. If you told me there was a million people there and I need to go talk to them, I would. It doesn't really bother me. But if you told me there was two people and I had to tell them that something bad happened to one of their loved ones, I would really struggle with that. Talking to people one-on-one is real tough for me, as compared to talking in groups. People are different that way. What was your favorite newspaper growing up? That's an interesting question. The newspaper in my town was called The Morning Call. That's from Allentown, Pennsylvania. So that would be it. I don't know any other newspaper, and I didn't care about anything other than the comics and Sunday comics because they were in color. And my parents let us read the comics. That was fantastic. And maybe I would look at the sports page to see who won the baseball games. I was bigger into baseball back then. But for the most part, I didn't care about the rest of it. When I was a teenager in the 90s, I tore those newspapers apart because the Desert Storm was happening. And I was so fascinated by that. And they had infographics and maps, and I cut everything out, made a scrapbook of it. I was following Desert Storm because I had read a lot of my childhood about World War II and Korean War and Vietnam War, but I hadn't been alive for any of those. I was alive for this, and it was just fascinating to me. As a teenager, didn't really understand all the repercussions of everything going on, but I just was really fascinated by the whole thing. Tom once you caused controversy by putting Project Elite as #1 game after it was part of a promotion on the channel. Now that Shut Up and Sit Down and no pun included gave a glowing review for it, how validated do you feel? Well, first of all, I didn't know that they did that, so I don't feel validated at all. Secondly, I caused controversy. I didn't even notice that. If there was controversy, who cares? When we did the Project Elite promotion on our channel, so we played Project Elite for the Kickstarter for Come On games. We didn't get paid for that. We did that one in particular because I loved the game and I wanted it to succeed. And in fact, Come On had Project Elite because I went and talked to the people who initially published it and put them in contact with Come On because I wanted to see it get reprinted. I liked it that much that I pushed it. So I guess there's a controversy that I liked the game so much that I got a company to reprint it, that I then did a preview for that, and then I said I liked it after all that. But you have it backwards. I said I liked it first. But I don't feel valid. I guess I feel validated. Sometimes I think I'm more validated when I say I hate a game and no one else seems to hate it. And then later on, the other hate, people are like, yeah, it's not that good of a game. Then I'm like, oh, good, I'm not the only one. But when it comes to liking a game, if I'm the only one, do not care. For the longest time, I was the only major reviewer I feel that liked Duel of Ages. And for good reason. Duel of Ages is not for everybody. But whatever. So, no. I'm glad they like it, I guess. I didn't even know they reviewed it. If time and everything stood still for 24 hours, but you're able to do whatever you want, what would you do during those 24 hours? Sleep, I guess? I mean, the only good answers that you would get from that is if you were a criminal, right? You could go in and steal money from everywhere. That would be super tempting. So that would be a bad idea, I suppose. This might be a silly question, but when reviewing, who do you play with to test the pacing, balance, and so forth? Are your family the guinea pigs? I play with whoever I can. Doesn't matter to me. Do you like when games do second editions that change rules, or do you normally continue with the original? It all depends on the rule changes, you know. I mean, I can't say normal or not. Usually second editions are better because they have the experience of thousands of gamers to draw upon and lots of time to work on something. I'm not saying the second edition is always better than the first. It's not, but it usually is. To want to sue you. Thank you, Anna Lara, for subscribing. To want to sue you was in the wall, but has been removed. Is your review coming soon? Yes. It's coming before the end of the year. How's that? Of all the board game tables you've had at the Dice Tower, which one is the nicest? The one that I use right now, my main gaming table. I know that the first one I got from Rathscowers was big and grandiose, but I like the one I have now. It's by far my favorite. What do you think of this relatively recent trend of making games out of IPs? It's definitely not recent. They've been making games from intellectual properties since the 40s. So it's not recent at all. I think what you think is recent is that there are good games coming from intellectual properties. Even that's not that recent. That's been happening now for 15, 20 years. But it's definitely not a recent trend. Anyway, original games seem to be the most exciting, while the intellectual property ones being the most popular. Am I crazy? I don't know if you're crazy or not, but I don't think you can say that. Intellectual games are the most, well, I mean, we can do a search for that. So let's do an advanced search here. We'll look at games from 2019 to 2020. And we'll make sure. Okay, here we go. So first we're going to sort them by their ratings. So we got Wingspan. Then we got Marvel Champions, the card game. That is the number 2 ranked game from the last 2 years. So that one seems to be very exciting for people. Tainted Grail, that's no IP. Then Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. That's an IP. Very highly rated game. All 4 of those are in the top 100. Then On Mars. So there's 5 games in the top 100. I should probably put these. Actually, in the last 2 years, we have Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, Wingspan, Maracaibo, The Crew, Marvel Champions, IP in the top 100, On Mars, Barrage, Clank Legacy, Paladins of the West Kingdom, Tainted Grail, Lord of the Rings, IP. So only 2 of the games in the top 100 are IPs. Now we'll sort them by number of voters. I think that could do popularity. We have Wingspan, Tapestry, The Crew, Tiny Towns, Cartographers. The top 5, no IPs at all. Then Marvel Champions, Res Arcana, then Lord of the Rings, then Paladins, Points Out, Maracaibo, Azul, Barrage, Parks, Taverns of Teethendall, then Horrified, which is IP. Yeah, I don't think there's any correlation there at all. I think this trend of using IPs for stuff is great. Why would I be opposed to it? But I won't say that they're not. I don't think they're any more exciting or less exciting or more popular or less popular than other games. I mean, if an average person goes to the store and sees a game with an intellectual property and one that doesn't have an intellectual property, they'll probably get the intellectual property one. Do you still keep expansion boxes? Well, if I'm putting them in the library, it all depends. If I'm going to put them in the base game and keep them in the base game, then I get rid of the expansion box. And if I'm going to keep an expansion box, I keep it. So that's, who knows? For my personal collection, I don't really have a personal collection anymore. If I have a small personal collection at the office, but not big. But yeah, if I'm not going to keep an expansion box, I chuck it. There's no reason to keep it. If you are keeping an expansion box, an empty one, okay, and you're not keeping expansion, you're keeping expansion in the base game, and you're keeping it, you're kind of bordering on being a hoarder. I mean, the only excuse you might have is, oh, I love the art. But if it's like, well, I don't know, I might sell the expansion someday. Sure. Are you? Are you really? Or I just can't bring myself to throw it away because why? It's just, I don't know. Sometimes you just got to throw things away. Biggest pie letdown of 2020. Well, I don't have a biggest pie letdown, but I do have a letdown. So we went to Disney Springs and we stood in line at this um, really long. It was some bakery. I don't remember the name of it actually, but everything inside looked amazing. Awesome looking cupcakes, amazing stuff. So I was let down for two reasons. One, the line was really long. They were only allowing one group in at a time because of the COVID restrictions. So when we finally got there, we got inside and I looked and there was these amazing looking eclairs. So I got one, ate it the next morning, and eclairs are supposed to be light and fluffy. This wasn't light and fluffy. It tasted like that was a healthy eclair, which again, I guess is okay. But if I just want to eat healthy, I'll just eat healthy, and not eat an eclair. And it tasted like almost like it was wheat. I don't know. It just was. Not only that, we stood in line for a good 40 minutes before we got in this place. And then on our way out of Disney Springs, we walked by Sprinkles, which is a cupcake place, and there was no line there. And I was like, because I know Sprinkles is good. So that would be my biggest letdown, which in the scheme of things is pretty good. Do you have any specific designers that you know will knock it out of the park? As a rookie-ish in the hobby, I always keep my eye on Stonemaier. Oh, there's a ton of designers who I think almost always do a good job, but I wouldn't say always. I mean, I didn't think Pendulum was that fantastic from Stegmaier this year, although that wasn't his design. I guess that was someone else's design. But I don't know. I mean, there's always designers that I keep an eye on and watch and stuff, but I wouldn't worry so much about that. The designer and publisher, I mean, that's fun for me to do, and it's fun, I think, to do in the background. But if just look at a game. If a game interests you, then read the reviews, watch the reviews, see what people say about it, and just go from there. I think we put too much emphasis on that stuff sometimes. Of course, Dice Tower does help in that regard. Tom, I really enjoy board games, but I struggle to get my friends to be enthusiastic along with me. They seem uninterested and can't wait for it to be over. What to do? Don't play games with them anymore. Find some people that are enthusiastic. You'll make some new friends. I know that's difficult to do right now. Or go play with people online or something like that. But I wouldn't keep doing something with people who don't really enjoy it. A super chat from Bonzo So 21. I watch a lot of your content. I haven't supported much thanks to you. Well, thank you very much. That's very, very nice of you. Oh, another super chat from Bach. Bach says, I noticed we like the same games and I've looked into Concordia. I've seen a review, but do you still recommend like it? Yes. Very rarely do I change my mind on reviews, but I do my weekend reviews to note that. And if you go look on Board Game Geek, I don't keep my ratings as up to date as I would like to. And in fact, if you go look at games I've reviewed in the last couple months, you might not see a rating there. That's because I kind of do it in batches. But when I go back and do my look back, I always update my ratings at that point in time. So every game from last year has my current rating, except for maybe the ones that were done in December. Every game from 5 and 6 years ago, same thing. Every game from 10 and 11 years ago, same thing. As I go through and do those look backs, I update my ratings. So my ratings are usually pretty current. My wife and I converted a table into a board game one. Then we bought Teotihuacan and Rising Sun with giant boards. Fail. What's a good catch-all table size? I don't know if there is one. We recently just played Twilight Imperium and on my very large table, and I was feeling really cramped there with the amount of space on that table. Some games just take up a ton of space. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I might check on the game first to see if it fits on the table before I get it. Don't empty expansion box shame me. Well, I mean, that's fine. So someone asked. I'm not trying to shame people. I just don't get it. It's the same thing I don't get, and I don't make apologies. Again, everyone's different. So, I don't get why people buy like toys, like Funko Pops, for example, and then keep them in their boxes. You're keeping it in the packaging. That's like getting games and keeping them in shrink and not playing them. And I know that people don't play with Funko Pops, but why would you not? I like the guy who designs the back of a Funko Pop. He must sigh all the time, like, I know they're going to leave it in the box. Why? We should just leave the back blank. It's just weird to me. People don't take them out of the box, and they're like, well, it's more valuable that way. I knew a guy one time who had all these cool superhero toys, and he kept them all in their boxes and stuff for their value. But that value doesn't really mean a lot. And what I mean by that is most people who have collections like that, they don't plan to part with those collections ever. So what happens is it then falls upon their loved ones when they pass away to get rid of that. My grandmother had a super doll collection. She collected porcelain dolls. They were everywhere. It was actually kind of creepy. You walk through this room and she was always buying new porcelain dolls. But when my grandmother passed away, my parents, they sold this doll collection for almost nothing comparatively. They didn't know anything about dolls. They didn't know how to get rid of it. And it went for nothing. So all that seemed to be a big waste. And that's the same thing here. Like these people, they're like, I need to keep this in pristine for when we sell it someday. But you never are. And your next of kin's going to sell it. And they might not even do it properly or care. And so like, I don't know. I like having the stuff, but take it out of the box. That's what I would do. If you have like superheroes in your shelves, take them out. If kids come to your house, let them play with them. I had when I was a kid, I went to a guy's house who had a giant collection of army men. You know, like the green army men from Toy Story, but even more than that. Cowboys and all sorts of things. He had 1 million. It probably wasn't 1 million, but it felt like 1 million. We went there. He dumped them out. Said, go ahead and play with them. It was amazing. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And that. He did more with those toys that day than he ever would have if he just stuck them on a shelf somewhere. All right, soapbox done. I would not throw expansion boxes away. You can store other things in them if nothing else. Well, actually, we do that at the Dice Tower. We keep really good expansion boxes, and we will label them and put other things in them. But there comes a point where, again, I think a lot of times we keep things because you might need it someday. What advice do you have to designers who want to attend and possibly network Dice Tower East? I would just go to a con and network at that con, right? I don't know if I'd give advice. If you're going to meet with a publisher, you want to email them ahead of time, set up an exact time to meet with them rather than just walking up and saying hi. They may not have time then. They may not want to spend time. So I would always email people ahead of time. When it comes to talking to people at cons, I'm getting stricter about that at my own cons where you can't. One of the problems what we have at cons is someone will come, they'll set their game up on a table, put up signs, and they essentially build a booth. And that's bad for several reasons. One, they're getting a free booth, and the people who paid for booths, it's not fair. You took you're kind of cheating the system to some degree. But also, these people usually take the hottest, best tables for people to play on, the closest ones to things, and they're sitting there, and they'll sit there even if no one's playing the game, and just sit there. And then when people go by, they kind of guilt those people. Hey, do you want to play a game? It's kind of like, when you're walking down the street and that guy, people on the street vendor's like, hey, you want to buy something? And you're like, oh, no, not today. And it's awkward for everybody involved. So I'm trying to push people doing that sort of thing to one section of the conventions that I'm at. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you are with some friends, you're like, hey, I've designed a game. Do you want to try it out? That's one thing. But to sit at a table and these people, they like squat at tables and they'll take them during prime time and sit there with their game. And essentially it's a little jerky really to everybody else. And I know that people are enthusiastic about their games and they want to show them off, but that can be problematic. Largest change in opinion from opening a box to end of game? Oh, it happens all the time, but it's almost always a negative thing. Like I'll open up a game and I'll be like, oh, this looks amazing. And then we start playing it. And I'm like, it is not amazing. With the initial popularity of Dune Imperius and the Lost Ruins of Arnak, do you see the deck building worker placement mechanic getting used more often, or is it just a fad? I don't know if it's a fad. 2 games came out about it at the same time. that were obviously designed separately, and they just work together. Will we see more of it? Maybe. It's only a fad if people copy them. It's not a fad right now. We'll see. They're definitely going to be two of the most popular games of this year, and I suspect you'll see both of those on various top 10 lists, I would bet. Will they be on mine? You'll have to wait and see. Will you get the TI4 expansion? No, but that's because I already have it. Any updates on Dice Tower West? No, I promise. Again, I promise. As soon as we have an update, we'll let everyone know. Because of restrictions and things, I keep telling people this. There's every convention on Earth, their hands are tied by the deals they've made with the hotels and such. Until the hotel allows you out of your contract, which they won't do till the government makes them, you can't do anything. So if you cancel early, you can be up for hundreds of thousands of dollars. We will playlist our 10,000 and below series. We're going to be adding more playlists to Dice Tower. Right now, we're just swamped with editing work and such. But when we get a new video editor and things, we'll be able to spread out that work a little bit more. You just played TI. Were you able to play with the expansion? Why do you think we played it? I know that you play with Lego with your son, but are there any more adult Lego sets that you build? I just built one of the pirate ships, and it's awesome. No, I sit and play with Legos as we talk and build them. But no, I don't buy anything for myself in that regard. I just don't have the money for it. Legos is an expensive hobby, and it would be fun to buy Legos and put them together, but it's too expensive. And then I would run into the problem that I mentioned earlier. I build this model, then what do we do with it? We stick it somewhere? I'd rather it be played with. And, that's my concern with Legos. I want Legos to be played with. Yeah, it's neat to build the models, but for me, I also want to play with it later on. Now, if someone builds a Lego model and they're just displaying it in their house, I'm not criticizing that. I'm just saying that's for me. Also, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have a ton of money, so I feel like Legos are a very pricey hobby. As a kid, I had very few of them for that same reason. This person says, I wrote a list for my parents. If something happened to me, they would know the proper value to sell my Warhammer figurines and board games. Pretty dark, I know. I don't think that's dark. I've already given my wife instructions. If something happens to me, what to do with the library, what to do with the Dice Tower, how to handle all that, because she'll become sole owner of the Dice Tower. And don't worry, she's not going to maniacally laugh and destroy the whole thing. I don't think it would be the same if something happened to me, but hopefully it would continue. And so, yeah, I don't think that's dark. Getting a will isn't dark. I've seen a lot of podcasts include a video format with them. Have you thought of having a video format for the Dice Tower podcast? We did it for a while. It didn't really seem to change much. The problem is with a podcast, we want to edit it and clean it up a little bit, and you can't do that when you do the video for the live thing. I guess we could record it. It's a lot harder to edit video for and whatever else Eric edits our thing for. Collections are rapidly losing value overall. Collector plates, muscle cars, toys, stamps, and so forth. Sell them while you can or use them. Well, I don't know if all collections are losing value, but collections can lose value. You don't know if something's going to be big or not. So, I don't know. I don't like collecting things for their value unless that's your job. Like if you're speculating on buying magic cards and reselling them. I just think maybe it'd be worth something someday. I'm pretty sure many of you are in the same category I am, where you got rid of something as a child and you're like, if only I had kept it, I could have sold it for so much money now. That's true, right? For me, I had some pretty valuable baseball cards. Not uber valuable, but probably worth several $1,000s now. I also had a few toys that were very valuable. I had the Voltron. That's a very valuable toy at this point in time. But whenever we say that, we forget that there were thousands of other things that we owned as a child, which are worth nothing now. So I could have kept everything, hoping to keep the one thing that's of value. You know what I mean? Remember those metal lunch boxes? They're kind of valuable. Should have kept those, but we didn't know that. I could have kept a bunch of those plastic ones too, but those are worth nothing. Anyone jumping on a Beanie Baby craze? Do you know any hat trick? No, I don't play hockey. Would you recommend pitch car if the only play surface available is the carpeted floor? I couldn't do that. I couldn't get down on the floor and play pitch car. It would hurt my knees too much. If I get down on the floor, I don't want to get back up. You know, if I'm gonna play, I'll play games with my kids on the floor, but I get down, pitch car, I'd have to move around and stuff. Oh, that would be horrible. Do you ever burn out from being the face of Dice Tower? Do you crave anonymity sometimes at conventions or within board game communities? Maybe, but it's not too hard for me. I can take my hat off, take my tie off, ruffle my hair a little bit, and shrink a little bit. Being 6'4" doesn't help. And people don't notice me. I went to Board Game Geek Con last year, and I didn't wear a hat. And I think I wore a baseball cap because I like wearing hats. And I wore a T-shirt, and I got recognized very infrequently. And I was good with that. But it's not a big deal. Right now, I'd love to go to a con. I don't care if I'm recognized or not. Do I need a new chair? This is a funny situation. So actually, this chair is only a year old. And I would like to blame my dog or my son or anyone, but it's not. It's just a bad chair. My wife got it. It was the display model, so she got a deal. She bought it for my birthday. But this stuff just started coming off almost instantly. Now, it's not a big deal. It's a comfortable chair, and I didn't even think about it till you just mentioned it now, that I want to have maybe a better looking chair on camera, because that's probably irritating some of you to see that stuff coming off there in the back. I mean, and it's all over the chair. It's just a really bad chair in that regard. The upholstery is terrible on this chair. At first, I thought, is it my suspenders, in the back? Nope, it's on the arm. It's everywhere, and it just comes off. Oh well, I don't get chairs for looks. I get chairs for comfort, and this is a comfortable chair. My wife constantly, hey, Justin, you subscribe. Thank you. My wife constantly apologizes about it. I'm like, it's not a big deal. First of all, how would you know? Secondly, it's comfortable. That's all that matters to me. Is green bean casserole overrated? Yeah, I think so. But people love it. What room is this? Is this your living room? No, this is the master bedroom of our house, which I refuse to turn into a bedroom because I think bedrooms, there's not a whole lot that gets done in a bedroom. I mean, you do spend a good chunk of your time there, but why do I want a huge master bedroom? So my wife and I took one of the smaller rooms and we made this the den. So above my head up here, there's a TV, so you can sit on the couch and watch that. And we can play games in here. This is also my office, this whole section of it here. So you can see there's a closet with my ties and hats. Over here, you can see games and toys. And then my desk itself, let's see if I can turn this around. All kinds of stuff happening here. I didn't spoil anything by doing that, did I? Probably not. My mom gave away my baseball card collection during my first military assignment. Sure, but moms have always given away baseball card collections as long as I can remember. And again, there's a lot of things that she probably gave away that were garbage. What's the flag on the wall? I don't know. I think it's a decoration I got at Michael's when they were on sale. Do you wear a tie and such just sitting around your home? Sometimes. I knew I was doing a Q&A today, so I put a tie on for that. I usually dress down, but I always feel after I dress down. Dressing up kind of keeps you awake and on your toes. I know that right now it's a big thing. Everyone's like bragging about it. Like, I only dress nice in the top half. I'm half wear pajama pants. They're more comfortable. Sure, that's true. They are more comfortable. But I'll tell you what, when you dress up, I think, well, I know that people have put a correlation together for this sort of thing. How do you distribute the games for others to review? Do you keep the best ones for yourself? Yeah, usually. I know that's selfish of me, but I'm the head reviewer. So, I mean, if it's one I know that Z really wants to play, of course, obviously. Z has very high priority when it comes to playing a game. And if we all want to play it, then we all play it, and we'll do one of our 4 corner reviews on it. But other than that, yeah, I don't send the best reviews to other people. The games, in my opinion, obviously they might think they're the best because I want to play them. I just overpaid for a flagship office PC gaming chair. I'm hoping I can feel the difference. I don't like those PC gaming chairs. I know everyone else does. I'd rather have an office chair. I don't get the gaming chair stuff. It's probably just not for me. The mattress thing, my word, 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago for my wife's birthday, I bought her a whole brand new bed with brand new mattress. Wow. We had been sleeping on garbage up to that point. How old am I? I am 44. We haven't sent out the Kickstarter stuff yet. It is being put together. I just put in an update about that today. The Gloomhaven scenario is now available for people. But the stuff will be shipped out as soon as we have all of it, and it's going to be shipped out as fast as possible, all of it. We'll announce as soon as it's shipped. We'll start announcing stuff's been shipped. Stuff's been shipped. Believe me, I'm as anxious as you are to get that stuff shipped. I have the same chair as you, and it is so comfortable. Mine looks even worse for yours. I have the little black piece all over the floor. Yeah, maybe it's that company then. I don't know what it is. It's weird. Those gaming chairs are super uncomfortable. Maybe, but I don't think so. Because if they were that uncomfortable, that people wouldn't buy them. Maybe it's built for a different body type or a different way of sitting or something. I have no idea. But it is. They're not comfortable for me. But I wouldn't say they're. I just assume they're super comfortable for everybody else. Have I caught up on questions? Weird. Most people don't realize how tall you are. Yeah, I know. That's the number one thing I get told at conventions. Do you feel like a giant playing games from the Tiny Epic series? No, I mean, I feel big. I will say, though, I was playing the PlayStation yesterday, and I need to go to the eye doctor, I guess. I was like, the stuff on the screen was really small. How am I supposed to read that? If Time Stories Bob could meet his fate in another board game, where would you send him? He can go visit. I don't know where I want to send Bob. Wherever I want to send him, I want to send him where he has a task to do, and then I'm not going to explain the task to him. And then when he doesn't do it right, I'll be like, how could you get it wrong, Bob?" I started buying board games this September. Now I have 21. Am I doomed? No, you're not doomed. But just realize you don't need to buy a gazillion games. Just buy the ones that interest you. You're going to get plenty as time goes by. And there's not a race to have the most. No one, well, I shouldn't say no one is, but no one should be judging you on the size of your board game collection or even the quality of your board game collection. I have friends who have no board games. They play other people's games. That's fine. Did you pick up any Switch games with the big sales going around? I did not. Maybe I will. But right now, I've been playing PlayStation games. Thank you. I appreciate that. Believe me, we don't want to make things later than possible. There's certainly some people in the Kickstarter who are yelling about how unprofessional we are. I physically can't make this stuff go faster. I really wish I could get it out there. But the thing I do have control over is the content on the Dice Tower. And I know we put out more content this year than we've ever done before. And I feel like we've improved it, which is the goal of the Kickstarter. So I hope people are happy with that. Do you change between your media persona and your private persona? I try to be the same person in both, but there's differences. Like if you came over for dinner at my house and sat there, you might be like, Tom doesn't talk as much as I thought. Or maybe you might think I talk too much. It all depends. But there's sometimes at home I'm just real quiet, just sitting there. A typical dad. Any tips for a father on how to get his kid into board gaming? Don't try. Play games with them, and if they want to get into gaming, they do, and if they don't, they don't. At what age? Whenever they want to. And what are good family games? That's on our channel. I have some of my kids love board games. 3 out of my 7 kids love board games. The other 4, well, Jimmy's still kind of young, but he watches very carefully the games, but he doesn't understand everything that's going on in them. So maybe I'll have 4 out of 7, but 3 of my kids have no interest in board games much at all. That's okay. I make them play once in a while. We play games together, but that's it. Send Bob the Sherlock Holmes consulting detective. Yes! That's the greatest answer. That is a fantastic. Bob has to work for Sherlock Holmes for the rest of his life. That's fantastic, and that is a good note here to end our Q&A on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you have a fantastic, if you are in America, hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving and holidays. If not, of course, holidays are happening all over the world for sure, and Christmas is an international holiday, and that is not too far away. Today is the 27th, so it is less than a month away. Can you believe that? Maybe we'll talk about Christmas music in my next Q&A, which is Monday, actually. We're back. Monday, actually, I'm going to be doing Board Game Breakfast live. Because we didn't pre-record it this week. So everything I do for Board Game Breakfast on Monday will be live. How will that work? We'll find out then. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Q&A on the Dice Tower. We'll see y'all later.